I have a lot of notes.
Well, good.
I guess
You got thoughts. You got thoughts.
I have things to say. Well, welcome to a little bit of a spin-off episode of And the Rest is Film History. We're going to be kind of doing these spin-off episodes where we kind of, it's me and Reese, we'll watch, we'll review a current movie, or we will just like do rankings, that kind of stuff. But we haven't super planned it out, have we?
Yeah. We'll see what we end up doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, as much as we definitely want to watch some older movies that maybe we haven't gotten the chance to watch, that we wanted to talk about some history things.
Yeah.
I definitely go to the movies a lot now.
Yeah.
And there's usually some really good movies that come out that I want to talk about. So
Definitely.
that's what this is for. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff. And I's not here, so we can talk about her. We can talk about her behind her back. Yeah, perfect format. Cool. So today we both really wanted to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which has been out for a couple weeks now, actually, and we're recording this. And especially when we release this, it's going to be like 2 months later.
Probably, yeah.
But we really wanted to talk about it. So, yeah, we're excited to just kind of...
Before we talk about Across the Spider-Verse, how do you feel about Into the Spider-Verse?
I loved it at the time, and I really enjoy it now. I think there's something about it where I kind of don't... I don't want to say I don't get the hype because I really enjoy it, but I know like some people like
Careful,
it's like
Josh. Careful. Careful.
Because I know it's one of your favorite movies. That's right?
It's so good. It's like
It's
a
up
10
there.
out of 10. It's the perfect movie to me.
Yeah, so I really enjoy this movie. Into the Spider-Verse, I probably give it like an 8 or a 9, but I know like some people, one of my best friends it's like I know a lot of people who it's like one of their favorite movies, and I just don't.
Yeah. So what? Because obviously you still like it a lot.
Yeah.
But what to you is making you feel like it's a little overrated or?
Ooh, I wasn't prepared to do this. I wish I wrote down notes or something like that. I think that weirdly a big complaint was the way the soundtrack was used felt a little bit
Interesting.
like I love the soundtrack to the first movie,
yeah.
but I think the way that it was used felt a little like commercially and like it was trying to sell me something, especially the use of Sunflower, because it's used 3 times in the first movie, and I think the first
used 3 times.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, so he hums it or he sings it
Right.
when he's in the facility. That's
And
like
then
the
I guess-
second time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I thought that was kind of I know that it was used in like a character moment, and so it wasn't like totally like a selling thing, but it kind of took me out of the movie because it felt like the 3 times used, it felt a little bit like it was trying to sell me on the song.
Okay.
And I didn't love that. And then like there's like other moments. What's that song? Start a Riot or something like that. Do you know what song I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
That was another one where it felt a little bit like it interrupted a joke.
Okay.
And I didn't love that. And yeah, I just think that like, I don't know. I think part of it is also like, it's really, maybe I could get to the root of why, but I think that there's like a weird personal thing that like makes certain movies special to each of us.
Sure.
And so I think objectively it's a really great movie and I really enjoy it, but there's something missing from that personal touch that.
Sure.
And I think like even the Lord and Miller who wrote, I think one of them wrote the first one and then both of them wrote the second one. I love all of their work. I love 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. The Lego Movie is like one of my favorite movies ever, and it's very special to me.
Okay.
So I think it's just that I was expecting this one to be as special to me as the Lego Movie, and it just like wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or like one of those things too, where if you go in a movie and everyone is saying that this is a masterpiece, and it's then your expectations are just so high, and you're like, yeah, it was really good, but I don't know if I'd call it that. Which is fine. Yeah.
I don't even think it was that, because I remember when I saw it, I think certain people were excited for it. People who liked Lord and Miller, like I did, but I think that Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, the hype built very slowly. Like it was
so
word
you
of
saw
mouth.
it pretty early on. Then?
I did,
Right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I remember I was being like, that was really good. And then like I think part of it was that like people started loving it so much that there's like this weird indie like instinct to be like, well, I like things that are, you know what I mean? Like I like things that are cool.
The first one for me, I think origin stories are always pretty entertaining. Like are usually like sequels, I think can be hard to pull off when you start off a movie really strong. So I think the first one for me, getting to know the character of Miles Morales.
Yeah.
I think I just loved in general I love animation and the style of it at the time. It was like the first time we saw an animated movie like that. Definitely. In that style.
Yeah.
And so I think that was so special. And yeah, like just the feeling of the comic book coming to life. And I never read comic books or anything, but still just watching it, it was so beautiful. The colors. And for me, the music was a big part of why I loved it. I feel like some of the scenes that stand out to me that I remember are moments where the music came in at a time of like an emotional scene or a scene that's supposed to be exciting. Or just the music was so good. And just, I think I also really like kind of coming of age stories too. And so it has some of that in it. And as well as Across the Spider-Verse does. Yeah. So just, I feel like there's so much character development, especially for a character of Miles's age, where he's trying to understand who he is. Yeah. And now he just found out he's Spider-Man and he's trying to, and the relationship with his family, all the other characters that they introduced, I feel like there wasn't one that was like forgettable or you forgot about. I thought they used them all really well. Yeah, it's just so good.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I love it. But so I had really high expectations for Across the Spider-Verse, really high. I don't know if you also had very high expectations.
I think I didn't, and then I started, because I honestly, I don't even know if I would have seen it in theaters if it wasn't, because you wanted to review it. Yeah. And I was like, I don't even know if I would see it in theaters. Wow. Because I think part of it was also, and we'll get to it in a second because I think this was a criticism of mine. I saw the trailer, and it said Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 at the beginning, and I was like, oh, they're gonna do a like, you know, a cliffhanger or like a, I think, and maybe we can just get into it now if we get into the movie. But like,
and do we want to start with some non-spoiler thoughts?
I say we start with non-spoilers and then we say spoilers. It's not a spoiler, but they do end on a cliffhanger, and so I knew that going in, partially because of the trailer, partially because the friend that I saw it with had already seen it, and he was like, it ended on a cliffhanger. But I think I'm experiencing a lot of like franchise fatigue and like setting up other stuff. Like I just want to see a movie that's like that's like its own thing, and I think that's one of the strengths of the first Spider-Verse movie is, there are like.
They wouldn't have had they didn't need to make another one, and you would have felt like it was like it's completely its own story, and I enjoy that. And so I got more hyped for it like as we were like ramping up to see it. But I think with a lot of I'm kind of really burned out on a lot of the MCU stuff, right? Because it is a lot of like setting up other stuff, and I'm just like I would like a single story. And so that was kind of not to immediately get into the negative, but I think that was my main issue with Across the Spider-Verse. Okay. Was that it was the first one felt balanced. It felt like put together. It felt you can just throw it on. Like it's a great movie. But I think this one was a great movie, but it kind of didn't feel like the same kind of balanced, structured movie. Like it was the story, like kind of the coming like it wasn't finished, kind of. Like, yeah.
Like I think there's kind of like coming at it from like a thematic kind of perspective, and hopefully this doesn't sound pretentious to our listeners, but like there's kind of this like it seems like every movie kind of makes some sort of argument about life, and I think that this movie's Across the Spider-Verse kind of felt like it was going to make this argument about like destiny and how and being able to do everything and being able to control everything, but it wasn't finished because there's another movie that's going to finish that argument. Sure. Which is fine. I don't even think that's a bad thing, but I noticed myself it's kind of hard to break down the thematics of this movie when there's going to be another one.
So do you think that after the third one comes out and it finishes the story, do you feel like that can improve how you feel about this movie? Or?
Definitely. Yeah. I think, especially if you kind of look at them as like one kind of cohesive like piece of art kind of.
Yeah.
I think it will kind of improve my seeing it.
So, okay. So let's go into what you liked then.
Yeah. Because I should say I really liked this movie.
Yeah.
What did I like? I thought I was going to be kind of over the, because I think a lot of movies have done that kind of meta humor where it's like since and before the original Spider-Verse where they're like, it's like, I don't know how to describe it exactly in relation to this movie, but it's like, it's kind of like making fun of like how weird this universe is and stuff like that.
Or like that this happens to all of the Spider-Man characters or like this thing.
Yeah. That kind of like, they call it like hanging a lantern is like making fun of like this, little bits of like the story that like maybe you would take for granted in a regular movie, but then like one character says like, that's weird or whatever. Yeah. I thought I was going to be over that by this movie, but it was like so funny. I found this movie so funny. I like Obi was hilarious. Spider-Punk. I thought, I think my favorite character was Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider. He's like a really small character, but he's the one who, I don't remember if I was talking to you about it or someone else, but like, he's the one who like near the end, he's like, I'm walking into the alley. I'm checking out the.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I thought he's
the one with like the denim jacket kind of.
I think.
Does he have, or it's like a blue.
It's like
a jacket. Yeah.
It's a blue vest. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought he was like the funniest character. Like his gimmick of like saying exactly what he was thinking was hilarious to me. I don't know why. But yeah, like I just thought it was such a funny movie. Like I found myself like laughing out loud, like in the theater, like maybe a little too loud to where like other people were like, all right, dude.
That's so interesting to me because I think this movie in comparison to the first one is a lot more serious.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I let out a couple of chuckles kind of, but I didn't find it as funny as the first one.
Yeah.
I think part of that could be, I think this is a movie that's definitely going to benefit on watching it again because so much is happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's interesting you say that because I thought the comedic moments of it were definitely good too and enjoyable, and I thought that was funny as well. But this one was definitely a lot heavier, I thought, than the first one.
Towards the end, especially.
Yeah. Well, actually, even in the beginning, like it opens with, you get a lot more of Gwen's character in this one.
Yeah.
And her story too is definitely heavy.
Yeah.
But and I think for me, that's one thing I liked a lot about the movie is that even though it does kind of end on a cliffhanger and things like that, which I don't mind. But I think because it was kind of equally Gwen's movie as much as it was Miles's movie, her story, I mean, there's going to be more in the last movie, but her story kind of felt wrapped up a little bit, or you got some sense of closure, and there was so much of her that you saw her story developing in a way that was really satisfying to me.
Yeah.
So even though, you have more stuff going on with Miles, I thought that was a great part of the movie. But I think one of the most impressive things to me is how much they were able to, just the animation, the visuals. The first one to me still is one of the most gorgeous looking animated movies.
Yeah.
And this one is just mind blowing that it's even a real thing. And I think not even just because the animation is so polished, but because of how many different styles is on the screen at the same time.
Yeah.
And it all works somehow.
Yeah.
Because, they go into the Spider-Verse stuff and it expands so much. You get so many more spider people and from different worlds that are in different art styles and they're coming onto the screen at the same time and they're all in their art style.
Yeah.
And it just, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
To look at.
Yeah.
And I think, just the creativity, like it just felt like you're watching art in a way that watching movies, animated movies, you don't always feel like that. But every frame I'm looking at, I'm like, I could hang this on my wall.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Very gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah.
I think overall, I think everyone should watch this movie. I'm glad I saw it in a theater. I don't know, a movie like this to me is one where it's like you've got to see that in a theater. I'm sure, I'll watch it at home and I'll get it when it comes out for sure. But yeah, I think for me, again, I've only seen it once, and I think after I saw it, I don't know whether or not I liked it more than Into the Spider-Verse. I think it's interesting because you were talking about music in the first movie. And I think in this movie, my one thing that I felt was less impactful than the first one was the music. And I think part of that is just because so much was happening on screen. I almost couldn't listen and watch at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I don't know if you experienced this, but there were some moments in the movie where the mixing, the sound mixing felt kind of off, where characters would be saying things, and I really had to
You're like, what?
I'm really try and dial in and hear.
Yeah.
And so I think part of that too is me trying to listen more to what the characters are saying than the music, because there are so many more characters in the movie, so it feels like there's more dialogue happening. There's a lot more to pay attention to in general. And I think it does a good job of giving you moments where it's kind of breathing and you're getting a slower moment where you're just sitting with the characters. But a lot of times it's so visually stimulating, a lot is happening. And so I think I just couldn't really give as much attention to the music.
Makes sense, yeah.
And so I think on a rewatch, that's something that I want to pay more attention to. But the soundtrack to the first one for me is just so magical.
Yeah.
But given those character moments too that I was referring to, where they have moments where it's kind of breathing, the other thing to me that's so amazing about the animation in it is how much expression they're able to get from the characters. In those moments where you get Gwen and her dad talking, or Miles and his parents, it's insane how much they feel like they're able to pull out as much from the voice acting with the animation as much as you would get from a person on the screen. I don't know if you felt that way. That's how I felt.
I hadn't noticed it, but maybe that's a good thing, because I hadn't noticed these character models are a little blocky or whatever. Yeah, definitely.
I think the voice acting is so good, and because I think sometimes you're watching an animated movie, and sometimes just the fact that it's animated can be an obstacle, I think, for people to really connect to the characters. Or to, connect with the emotions.
Okay, yeah.
Not always. I mean, I think done well, it's very good. But this is just really well done. Yeah. I thought the characters feel so real.
Yeah. That actually makes sense. There's a lot of especially early on, there's a lot of scenes that are not even super Spider-Man-y action. They're kind of just talking scenes with these close-ups, and you just you feel. I was I heard do you watch Chris Stuckman at all? Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'd watched his review, and he was like, I didn't really love all the family drama at the beginning. I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, I thought it was a little weirdly paced. I loved that stuff. Miles is Black and Puerto Rican, and I'm Puerto Rican and white. And so there was a lot of there's a party early on that's a Puerto Rican family party, literally so relatable, so much fun. And I just loved all that, the drama about him going to college and his parents not understanding that he's always disappearing and stuff like that. That was and that was honestly one of my favorite parts of the last movie. All the drama between he's into Gwen kind of, and he's friends with his uncle, and they kind of do stuff. I loved that stuff, and I loved that stuff in this one, that kind of family drama. And I think that's I think that's part of what makes Spider-Man such an interesting character in general, is that they always like, it is that coming of age, like it's something everyone can relate to, like this kind of identity kind of thing. And I think they always get that. A lot of times they get it super right.
And I think, going off of that with the family drama kind of stuff, I think a lot of times I feel like animation doesn't get taken as seriously as other movies, and kind of gets boxed into like, oh, animation is for kids.
Yeah.
But I think parents can watch this and really, I mean, so much of it was about, right, as a teenager, Miles is growing up and stepping into his own and, is grappling with like what he wants to do in his life, the places he'll go, things like that. And his parents are, for the first time, having to deal with the idea of Miles, like, being on his own and not needing them as much, maybe, and not, like, and being more independent and, them not always knowing where he is or what he's doing. And you see they really want him to stay in New York. They're like, we're not leaving Brooklyn. Like, when he kind of talks about going to college, other places maybe.
Yeah.
And so, but it's amazing, like, seeing his parents try and have those conversations. You get nice moments of just them two talking and seeing how they're dealing with that and not really knowing what's going on with him and wanting to understand, but also trying to let him be more independent. And I just thought there were really great moments about, like, Miles, as a minority going into places where, there's not other people like him, or maybe other people are going to try and make him feel like he doesn't belong. Yeah. But, like, really taking up space and knowing who you are and saying, no, I belong here. Like, I thought that was a great just theme throughout the movie. But, yeah, so overall, I mean, yeah, definitely one of my favorite movies that I've seen this year so far. And if the third one keeps up this level, this is going to be, like, one of the best trilogies ever. Yeah. I think, for sure. It's so funny we've talked all this time and we didn't even talk about the villain at all in the movie.
The villain is, like, not really that big. I mean, you're talking about the Spot, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he's not even that big of a force in the movie.
It's interesting.
Kind of.
It's definitely going to be the third one for sure. It's going to have more of him. But I thought even that villain to me was so interesting, given how at the start you're almost kind of laughing at him. Like, he's not, nobody's taking him seriously.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, just that progression of him becoming more of a threat to the multiverse and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the third one because I think just how, as the movie progressed, it just got really dark and started getting
it did.
even his kind of conflict with the other Spider-Man. But yeah, and the way they animated the Spot, especially towards the end. Yeah. Again, just the animation, unbelievable to me. It's funny, my favorite part of the movie was probably the last, like, 15, 20 minutes, I think.
Really?
Which is interesting because I know you aren't like a fan of the cliffhanger kind of thing. But
which we'll get into spoilers, by the way.
The twist of that, how about we start getting into spoilers now?
Okay, yeah.
We're going to talk about spoilers.
So, yeah, I would recommend this movie if you're just, like, having a... Again, I found it more comedic, and I enjoyed that. It does get very serious towards the end, but I would watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get into spoilers for a little bit. We don't need to make, like, an hour review.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But so the last 15 minutes, so kind of the main conflict that happens in the movie is you have the Spot becoming stronger, but there's this whole thing about canon events for all the Spider-Men.
Yeah.
Which is, again, that kind of meta, like, a little bit like, oh, this is what makes us Spider-Man. And there's some jokes about that kind of. Yeah. But this idea that if you're Spider-Man, like, these events have to happen to you. Like, basically, they're going to happen to you, and you can't do anything about them. And if you try and disrupt it, you're going to, like, break the multiverse somehow. I don't know. It's going to have some ramifications. And so one of the things is I guess Spider-Man, a police captain that they're close to, dies, basically. And Miles's dad just got promoted to captain.
Yeah.
And so he's not accepting that that's going to happen to his dad.
Yeah.
And all of the other people that Miles got to know and was friends with in the first one, Peter B. Parker, Gwen, they all know.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of learn, too, from this whole spider kind of multiverse society that's going on, which is run by Spider-Man 2099, that Miles himself is an anomaly because the spider that bit him was from another universe.
Yeah.
So he wasn't even supposed to be Spider-Man. And it kind of goes back into that theme of, like, you don't belong here. You're not supposed to be here, kind of. And Miles kind of, fighting that feeling of, like, he's being told, you don't belong, you're an anomaly. Like, if you didn't get bit by that spider, your Spider-Man wouldn't have died. Like, none of this would have happened. And so, but he's feeling like he's not just going to accept that his dad is going to die. He's not just going to accept that all of these terrible things need to happen to them. Yeah. Like, and that there's people that he just isn't supposed to save. Like, he wants to save everyone.
Yeah.
So, but in all of that, he's like trying to get back home to save his dad. And there's this machine that sends you back to the universe you come from. And so he's going, and it sends him to the universe where the spider came from.
Right.
And not his home. And just when he gets there, that whole sequence of you seeing him try and go back to his parents, and thinking he's home. And then you have Gwen and some other people going after him, but they're in the universe that he's actually from.
Yeah.
And so you kind of learning and realizing that he's not in the right place. And just the colors.
Yep.
In that universe, just the rain, the lighting, I just thought it was so beautiful. And they were doing this really amazing thing with the animation where he's like swinging back to his apartment, and you kind of see all of the things he's thinking are kind of popping up on the screen as he's swinging by. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just all the things that are getting revealed to you in that moment. The twist of, he's in the wrong universe, and in that universe, he's actually the Prowler. Miles is, and not his uncle, but his uncle's alive.
Yeah.
And so he's seeing his uncle, and he's going through all these. I loved all of that. Mm-hmm. And immediately it ended, and I'm like, I can't wait to see more. And I wasn't like, what? That's it? It was making me more excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had the opposite reaction to you.
You're like, oh no, it's not about to end. Like, it's not is that how you were feeling, or?
It was more like I was feeling that franchise fatigue when it kind of set up like, he's the Prowler. Like, it was hard for me to. I was really enjoying the movie, but it was hard for me to get invested in like, he's the Prowler in the other universe, and I think my main so like to flesh out like my main issue with it, the cliffhanger. I knew it was gonna be a cliffhanger, and I think I was prepared for that. But so the bit where they're on the train in the 2099 kind of land, I was like, okay, this kind of feels like the climax of the movie. Like, it's going to wrap up after this and it's going to be a cliffhanger. I'm fine with it.
Oh, okay.
But then it kind of went on for another 20-ish minutes after that. And I was kind of losing not patience, but like I was like, okay, we're still...
Okay. Like, you felt like that would have been a nice place to end it. And
kind of. Okay. Yeah. Like, he's sent home, and then maybe there's a scene where it's like, but it's not actually home, and then it's done. But there was like the stuff with Gwen, like, with her father.
Which I loved that. I mean, that was...
Yeah. I thought it was good. I think it was kind of in a weird... I think it might have been more emotionally impactful if they structured it differently. I don't know. But and then like he reveals to his mom that he's like Spider-Man, but it's like not his mom. Like, I think... I was just kind of, I think I was really, really enjoying the movie. And then toward that kind of stuff kind of burned out a little bit of my enthusiasm for it. And then I was just like, with the franchise fatigue thing, like when they revealed he was a Prowler and that's where the next movie is going to take on, I just wasn't, I was thinking that thought of like, okay, now this isn't a complete thing. This is like, we have to wait for the next one. So I did really enjoy the movie, but I think that kind of stuff towards the end kind of really
That's
lessened.
so interesting that was like my favorite part, and that was
Complete opposite. Yeah.
Because that whole moment with like Gwen and her dad, and she's going back, and the animation in that one too. I mean, her world was like with the color, almost like watercolor. It was so beautiful. Yeah. But I guess that's just
we're
too
just
different.
Yeah.
Just different. I'm definitely excited to see it again though, because like I said, after it ended, I sat there for several minutes and was just like processing like all of the things that I just saw. Yeah. And I think again, Peter B. Parker, just one of my favorite characters. So good.
I loved it when he popped back up.
Yeah. And his relationship with Miles is so great. Overall, so good. Highly recommend. What would you rate it?
Like out of 10?
Yeah.
Probably 7. I was going back and forth between 7 and 8, but probably 7. Wow. Yeah. I think a lot of fun. But if I was honest with myself, probably 7. Which is not even. I think that's kind of above average for me.
Yeah, I mean that's not you saying it's a bad movie.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I would say like an averagely good movie is like a 6 for me.
Sure. Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I give it probably like a 9.5. And I'm definitely excited to see the last one. I think part of it was how much I just felt so connected to the first one. And so just that love carrying through, and then everything that stepped up with the animation, the visuals. Yeah. The stakes felt higher.
Definitely.
And just the character development continued. So I'm really excited for the last one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have to see how it ends. Like I'm excited. I am excited for the last one. Like I'm excited to see all the jokes and all the characters. Spider-Ham is going to be back, which I'm so excited about because he wasn't really in this one as much.
Yeah. But. And Spider-Man Noir, which I loved in the first one. Yeah.
And my tears smell like rain, or what does he say?
All that. Yeah. But yeah, great movie. Highly recommend.
Yes. Cool. All right. Well, we should probably wrap this up because we have to be out of here really quickly. But yeah, cool. Well, thank you for listening to this spin-off episode. We're definitely going to have, I don't know how much it is going to be in relation to the main episodes. Yeah. I think it's, I don't know. But we'll just suss it out. We're just having fun up here. You know what I mean? We're just doing our thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening as well. If you're listening. Bye.
All right. Pack it up.